Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechta Sotah daf Mem. We're going to begin on daf Mem Amud Aleph, fifth line from the top. Heichan Amron. Where exactly is this said? So this is referring to in yesterday's daf in the Siyas Kapayim that while the Kohanim are blessing the Kehillah also is engaged in saying certain psukim. So the question is, where exactly are these inserted? So Rav Yosef Omer ben kol bracha bracha. Every time they finish a bracha, before they start a new one, this is when the Kehillah says certain things. It's during the time when Hashem's name is mentioned. Pligi ba Rav Moriv Rav Zvid. And this we have a machlokas. Chad Omer psuka l'kalbo psuka. Chad Omer akol psuka. The question is, do you say all of the three psukim each time 3 times, or do you only say one pasuk per time? Says Rashi, Shah Kohanim Omrim pasuk Rishon, Him Omrim Echad Me'elu. The Sheni Hayu Omrim Es Hasheni, Shlish Es Shlishi. So again, the question is it just one pasuk that's recited, or do you repeat all 3? So B'chad Omer Akol Psuka Armul Hulakuhu. All 3 psukim are said all each time. Anyone who says that it's recited also outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's a mistake. This is only something which is done in the Beis Hamikdash. Says Rashi, Shol Niskanu Leimer El Chvayid Shem HaMiyuchad HaNisker BaMikdash. It's because the Shem HaMiyuchad, which is only said in the Beis Hamikdash, that's the reason why we do this, and therefore it's not done anywhere else. Omer Bechia Chanina Bar Papa Teda, I'll prove this to you. Debamikdash Nami Lo Tiboy Lo Memrinhu. Technically, you don't even have to say in the Beis Hamikdash either. Klum Yeshacha Eved Shemavarchen Oisav Einu Mazin. Do we ever find that an Eved is Mavarech and he's not paying any attention? In other words, it's almost like there's no need for you to even have to mention these psukim, because obviously he's paying attention. Amar Rav Acha Bar Chanina Teda de Bigvul Nami Miboy Lo Memrinhu. Maybe Pumfakert. Maybe even outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you should say Klum Yesh Eved Shemavarchano. So do we ever find that an Eved gives a bracha ve'ein masbir panim, and there's no recognition? In other words, so you can say either way. Since the Kohanim are giving you a bracha, so you shouldn't have to mention it because it stands based on logic that you're going to be paying attention, so you don't have to do anything. Or if someone gives you a bracha, you should acknowledge it. You should have be masbir panim to let them know that this is something which is very special and important to you, and therefore you do say the psukim. Originally I said Kivan de Chazina Leil Rabbi Abba. But even though originally I did say it, but once I heard not to say it, now I also don't. V'yomer Rabbi Avo, Mareish originally Havamina in Vanasana, I would say that I'm a very humble man. Once I heard from him, Ihu Chataima, one reason, Yama Amorai Chataima, and an Amoira, a different reason, will kopid and they get upset, Amina Lav in Vanasana. I guess I'm not as humble. In other words, the fact that he heard something from someone else and it didn't bother him, even though it was a totally different reason of what he said, so therefore, because of that, it shows his chashivus. And therefore, maybe I'm not so humble. So my invanasuse de Ravavo. So Ravavo initially thought he was humble. So what was the anivas on his part? The Amarla de Besu, the Amar de Rabbi Avo, with the Besu de Ravavo. The Amarla that he said to her, the Besu, his wife, the Amaroi, who's the interpreter, the Rabbi Avo, with the Besu de Rabbi Avo, to the wife of Rabbi Avo, Hadidan lotzarchle ladidach. That which is mine is not needed for you. And the reason why we bend down, Yikrub almahu de avidle. It's just a matter of showing respect. Says Rashi, Shari Rabbi Avo nasu panim bebeis hamelech. Rabbi Avo used to show respect in the Beis HaMelech. Nasu panim, says the Gemara in the Chagiga, says Rashi, Kagon Rabbi Avo beKesar. The way that he showed respect to the Caesar. Omer dehavi nafki hamasa de beKesar. He would show respect and fear to the Caesar. Sharian kamei rabba de ame medabrana lumase. Okay. Azlo the Beisu V'Armulei, so he went to his wife and V'Armulei and she said to him, Rabbi Avo, Armulei my nafkali lechmina, mini umine yiskales ilah. Hashem's name will be glorified. V'su Rabbi Avo imnu rabbanan alei dimane bereisha. Also regarding Rabbi Avo, to show his anivos, his humility, he was appointed at the top. Kivon dechazi l'Rabbi Abba demin Akov. Once he saw him, the nefishile balichovos, that says Rashi Shoyet Sarach Lilvois, that he needed to borrow money. Armalahu ikarabba. What does that mean? So Islon Rabba, says Rashi, Chacham Gadol, Maroi, Leisha Baroish Yosim Meni. He's more chashav than me. Kadesh Yeshivuhu Baroish, so that Rabbi Abba should be at the head. The nice loy, Manais, and then they'll give him money, Uma'ashronoso, and make him rich. Kadesh Chashiv, he'll become very important. Yishma Devarav, and they'll listen to his words. So basically, once he saw the Rabbi Avo, he had a lot of obligations, financial obligations, so he basically made him into a more powerful position so that he would be able to have the money and to be able to pay off these obligations. Which again, that shows the greatness of Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Avo, Rabbi Chia Barabba, Ikulahu Asra. They went to the city. Rabbi Avo, Darish B'Agadata, Rabbi Chia Barabba, Darish B'Shmaisa. So Rabbi Abba was darshaning, who was saying Agadata, and Rabbi Chia Barabba was saying Shmaisa. Says Rashi, Halachos, Dinim, V'Isser, V'Taharos, Shavku Kol Yalmo Rabbi Chia Barabba. Everyone left Rabbi Chia Barabba, who was again teaching Dinim of Halachos, of Isser and Tahara. V'Hazal Gabi Rabbi Avo. They went to Rabbi Avo in order to be able to hear his Agadic teachings. So Chosh Daite. So, because of this, since everyone left, Rabbi Chia Barabba felt bad. I'm going to give you a parable. To two people, Echad Meicher Avanim Taivis, Echad Meicher Mine Sidkis Almi Kaivtzen. There's someone who is involved in selling precious jewels, and the other one is Sidkis. Rashi says, Klei Malachais Nashim. Going pirchim, machdim, etzinairis, like sewing needles. So, almi kaivtzin, who are they going to jump toward? Lo alzeh shemaycher mini sidkis. Says Rashi, mitaych shedemeim kalim, since it's very inexpensive. Yeshlohim kainim harbe. A lot of people acquire it. Well, hafez daita huaymer, who's just doing it to calm him down. In other words, basically saying, Agadata is much easier to understand, and the fact is they're coming toward me not because I'm so important, but just because the material is something which is much easier to grasp. Something which is more complex, like that which you do, which is a much deeper level, you're not going to have, unfortunately, the same amount of interest. But it's not because of you, it's because of the content. Kol Yomi Hava Melave Rabbi Chia Barabba, or Rabbi Avo. Every day, Rabbi Chia Barabba would accompany and escort Rabbi Avo ad ushpize, until he got to his hotel, into his room. Mishum Yikr de Kesar, because of the honor of Kesar, as you said, because Rabbi Avo used to have this connection to the Beit Kesar. Ahu Yoima Al Rabbi Avo Rabbi Chia Barabba ad ushpize. So one time Rabbi Avo accompanied Rabbi Chia to the room. Even though he did this because, again, Rabbi Avo understood that he felt bad, this did not cause Rabbi Chia Barabba to feel better, even because, again, he lost all of his students. So nonetheless, that's what he did. But that's the end of it. So we see that he made every effort to try to show respect, which essentially that shows he was really an anav. Rav Avo was a great anav because an anav is someone who knows his place, and not only that, he puts someone else, even though he doesn't have to, above him. And he noticing that someone feels bad, you can frame something to make them feel better. So this is a similar question by Berachas Kohanim, but now the question is, when the Chazan says Modim, what do we say? So we have what's called Modim de Rabbanan, and this is the source. Rav Modim Anachnu Loch Hashem Elkeinu. So we say the Modim de Rabbanan, that we thank Hashem also, Sha'anu Modim Loch. Shmuel Omer says no, Elokai Kol Basar Al Sha'anu Modim Loch. So he says it differently. Rabbi Simoy Omer, he says another opinion, Yotzreini Yotze Bereshis Al Sha'anu Modim Loch. Nardoi Amri, a fourth opinion, Mishmei de Rav Simoy, Brachos v'hoidois l'shimcha gadol ad al shehechisanu b'kiyamtanu al she'anu moedim loch. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Masaima Hachi, he would add off and end, Kain techayenu chanenu skabtzenu b'sesav gilosenu l'chasos kodshecha l'ishmo chukecha v'lasos tzoncha b'lei bav sholim al she'anu moedim loch. So these are all the different parts of Modim D'Rabbanan. So which one do we do? So Rav Papa, as Rav Papa often does throughout Shas, whenever you have all these different opinions about what you should do about a tefillah, Hilchach Nemrinhu Laku, all the time, so many different places. When it comes to, for example, Asher Yatzar, for sure. There's many other places, Berachas HaTorah. So there was an argument, should you say this one, should you this? So he always says, say them all. And obviously there's some inyan of how Rav Papa connects. He's a connector, which is an interesting thing, because when it comes to Wasiyim, we have Hanani Bar Papa, Rama Bar Papa, right? We have this long name, they're all Bar Papa. There's a connection. When a person also makes a Siyim, you're connecting and bringing people together for the Suda Siyim, to learn with them and to be able to celebrate together. And that's what Rav Papa did. He would bring people together, different opinions, and he would bring them all together. That was Rav Papa's philosophy. What does that have to do with his profession of making beer? There's also an Indian connected to that, but we'll discuss that another time. Person should always have the fear of the tzibur upon you. Shahari kohanim panem klapi. Because if you think about it, the kohanim, when they're duchening, they're facing you. V'achareim klapi shchina. However, the shchina, which is like going toward the east, their back is toward the shchina. So how's that possible? So even though it's true that they should be showing respect to the shchina, but we also have to show a masibor, and therefore that's the reason why they face them. Rav Nachman Omer Mahacham, Yaakam Hamelch David al Raglav v'Yarmin, he stood up. Shimu'uni achai v'ami, listen to me, my brother, my nation. Im achai lama ami, v'im ami lama achai. So the question is, what exactly is he phrasing? If it's my nation, then why does he say my brothers? So Amar Belazar, Amar Lehem Double Israel, this is what he was saying. Im atem shaymin li, if you listen to me, achayatem, we're like brothers. V'im lav, but if you distance yourself from me by not listening, then amiyatem, then you're just like a nation. You're not like my close family. Vani roida eschem b'makel, and I'm going to hurt you and hit you with a stick. Rabbanan Amri Mahacha, de'ena kawana mishan lalos b'sandalehem v'duchen, that they're not allowed to wear shoes when they do Nesias Kapayim. Why not? So it's a way of showing respect to the tzibur. This is one of the 9 takanos. My time, allow mishum kavod tzibor. It shows a sign of respect to the tzibor. It's interesting. It says over here, kavod tzibor. Rashi used again a masa the tzibora. Why? Says Rashi, Mimnei shemistalkin bigadav. When you're looking at the garments of the kohen, hasuin lemidasai hagvas yadav. When you lift up your hands, it naturally causes your garment to lift up as well. The nirin sandal of a tzibur, and therefore, if let's say you were wearing this long coat, long cloak, in which it's covering your shoes, but once you go like this and you lift up your hands, that causes the cloak to lift up, which means your shoes will be exposed. Vehain in royin liros titchalen, because it could be dirty and muddy shoes, and therefore no one wants to see dirty, muddy shoes. But if your garments cover them up, it's no big deal. But while you're doing the sis kapayim and you're lifting up your hands, it's going to cause that people are going to see your dirty, muddy shoes. And therefore that shows a lack of respect to the tzibor, a lack of ema, fear for the tzibor, and therefore because of that, better you take off your shoes. Very interesting reason. So that's one interpretation. Ravashi lo, hasam shema nifsikal ratsua besandalo. What happens if his shoe snaps, his straps? V'ader azal mikterin, he's going to go to fix it. V'amri ben gerusha ben chalutzahu. They're going to say, what's going on over here? Why is he not doing the siyas kapayim? It must be because he's not able to, because he's a chol. He's ben gerush ben chalutza. So to alleviate the problem that a person's shoes may break, and therefore people are going to end up thinking that he's a chol, better not to wear shoes, which is an unbelievable thing. How careful the chachamim go, just in case a person could maybe end up not looking good in the eyes of Kehillah. And therefore, for that reason, they don't wear shoes. Question 13, TA20, TB21, same thing. Mehem hatamim de'eshleimer b'ha de'ein reshayin ha'kohanim lalus l'duchim b'sandalehen, either because of kavod tzibor, or shlo, as we said, shematisek ritzua. What if the shoe snaps? V'mikdash bracha achas v'chulu. So one of the distinctions is that there was one bracha. We didn't say amen until the very, and that was it, because we don't answer amen in the mikdash. As we continue Mem Beis, v'chol kach lama, this is what it says right here, lefi shein oinen amen b'mikdash. We don't say amen, therefore, because of that, all 3 of the recitings on the Seis Kapayim is like as one. It says Taisus Tema v'lo hayu oinin bar shem kavod machasol ulam v'kishay shemim shem kadosh. They say bar shem, so that's something. Shouldn't that be a hefsek? It says Rashi v'zeh haya hefsek gadol mi'aniyas amein. That's a much larger hefsek. V'o shahaya noiflin al penayim, they would fall on their faces. Shahari kishahayu shaymin as Hashem api koin gadol b'shas hagroa hayu noiflin al penayim. They used to fall on their face. So skipping all the way down, B'shema hayu oinin barshem kavod machas will alter. They would say that immediately, kishahayu shaymin shem hanichbad hanayru. Once they heard Hashem's name like that, v'lo hayu mamtinin ad sof pasuk. They wouldn't wait until the pasuk was finished to say Baruch Shem. Maybe Baruch Shem was actually said right after they heard Hashem's name. L'fi shelo hayu masikin bein pasuk or pasuk. Since there's no hesed between the psukim, chashavu kamo bracha achas. So therefore, when we say amen, we say it after the whole bracha. However, when in the Beis Hamikdash, because we don't say amen, even though it's true, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Bo'ed said, maybe this is a raya that they would only say it after the Shem HaGadol. Back in the Gemara, Tanur B'Adam, Anayin Shein Oinen Amen B'Mikdash, Shenemar, Kum Uvarchas Hashem Elkeichem, bless Hashem, Min Ha'olam V'Yad Olam, Anayin She'al Kol Bracha Bracha Tehillah. How do you know every single time you do this? Shnemar v'yivrach Hashem kavodecha morim al kol bracha tehillah. Al kol bracha tein tehillah. Every time there's a bracha, one should give Hashem's praise. Next Mishnah says the Masnisan. Brachos birchos kohanim ketzad. When it comes to the bracha of the Kohen Gadol, says Rashi b'yom Kippurim la'acher shekolsa avodas hayoyim kari b'tayra. So after the avodas hayom and all the different karbanos are brought and There's in the Seirezim, the goat, the scapegoat, Echad Hashem, Echad Azazel. So afterwards, the part of the service is the Kohen Gadol reads from the Torah. How's that done? So Chazan HaKnesses Neitel Sefer Torah. So the Chazan takes the Shamash. He takes the Torah, the Nasnul Rosh HaKnesses, and he gives it to the Rosh HaKnesses. The Rosh HaKnesses Neitel Sagan, and he hands it over to the deputy Kohen Gadol. But Sagan Neitel Kohen Gadol. So the Sefer Torah is passed from one person to the next, and this is a way of showing kavod to the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol oimed u'mekabel v'koyrei. So the Kohen Gadol stands, he's mekabel the Torah, and he reads achrei mos, which is what we do, and also v'ach ba'asar. So these are the two sections. The goyel es Torah, they roll up the Torah. And he puts it in his on top of, on his lap. Even more than I read is so it is written here. It says Rashi. V'ach ba'asar parsha shor kesef hasmuchahi. It's very close to Achrei Mos. If you look in the Torah, or one's Vayikra Tezai, and the other one's Vayikra Chaf Gimel. It's only a few prakim. Yochel ligoil Sefer Torah l'sham. You can easily roll it. But oid shemeturgam metargim mikra acharon shel parshas Achrei Mos. So as the translator is finishing off, the Kohen Gadol just simply rolls it a couple of columns, and he gets to the next section of Ach Ba'asar. Ve'en kan shoyis kedil hasek meturgaman. That's not considered to be like a delay of time, because the meturgaman is still translating. Ve'en kan genai l'tzibor, and therefore it's not a disgrace to the tzibor. That's why he's allowed to roll it up. Now he also says mamash krasi lefnechem kosev kan, says Rashi. Avol bishani asil likros od parsha shlishis. Even though I'm going to read a third section, al tidamoi loimer shechaserahi min hasefer hazeh. Don't make a mistake to think that it's missing from this sefer. Shalohaitzi laz al sefer Torah. Because the next part he's actually going to be reading, as we're going to see, Baal Peh. Says the Mishnah, Uva Asar, which is Shebechumish Hapekudim, which is in Sefer Bamidbar, Kar Peh. That he would read by heart, and the reason is because it was so far away. It's not so far, but from Sefer Vayikra Chav Gimel to Bamidbar Chav Tes, so we're dealing with getting about 6-7 parshios or so rolling. That may take a few minutes, and that's considered to be Tircha de Tzibor, and because of Kavod Tzibor, we'll just have him read it by heart. But that's the reason why he says this line of Yoiser Memasha Karisa Lefnechem Kosev Kan, to demonstrate that really there's nothing wrong with me reading straight from the Torah, from this Torah scroll. It's not possible, but I'm just doing it because of Kavod Tzibor. Umavarach Aleha Shmeina Brachos Al HaTorah. So he ends up saying 8 brachos. One is al Torah, Val Avoda, Val Hodoya, Val Mechilas Avoin. Rashi says, what is Mechilas Avoin? Ata Bachartanu, which we also say in our Shemon Esrei, Shechaisim Melech Moichel V'Saleach L'Avonoseinu L'Avonos Amo V'Gaimer, which is how we also say that line as well in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. V'Al HaMikdash, you're talking about Yom Kippur. V'al HaMikdash, says Rashi, Mispal al HaMikdash L'Chaisim B'Baruch Asher Bachar B'Mikdash. V'al Yisrael, says Rashi, Mispal al Yisrael V'Chaisim Baruch HaBoicher B'Amo Yisrael. V'al HaKohanim, V'al Yerushalayim V'Shar Tefillah. Says Rashi, V'al Shar Tefillah. Gemara is going to explain what that means. So Shema Mina, says the Gemara, we should deduce the fact that the Sefer Torah is being passed from one to the next, Cholken Kavanot Talmud Mamakam Arav, that when it comes to the Rebbe, who in this case is the Kohen Gadol, we still show respect to the Talmidim by letting them also have the ability to hold the Sefer Torah. It says Rashi, Minetani Chazan Knesses Noitel Sefer Torah V'Naslo Rosh HaKnesses Shema Mina Cholken Kavanot Talmud. Talmud Katan Chayla Kavanot Talmud Gadol Mimenu V'Afal Misha Rav Sham V'Ein Genai LaRav. It's not a Genai to the Rav. So where it says that's not a proof. the fact that they're passing a Sefer Torah one to the next is not because we're showing kavod to the students. This actually shows kavod. And maybe we're not really cholkin kavod l'talmud b'makam rav. So over here, since people see it's going up in stages until it finally gets to the Kohen Gadol, it shows how chashuv the Kohen Gadol is. It's not so the other people should get recognition, it's so that the Kohen Gadol should get recognition for being the top. The Kohen Gadol oymin mekabel v'karei v'chulu oymin b'chal d'yoshevu. The fact that it says that he stands up, it's mashma that he was sitting. The only people that are allowed to sit in the Makom Azara is Daphne if you are from the Zera of David HaMelech. Only there because we show the Kavod HaMalchus. Shneimar v'yavo HaMelech David v'yeshiv lifnei Hashem. That he's sitting there. So we find that only David was able to do so. So what does it mean he got up? So Kidi Omer Rav Chisda be'ezras nashim hachanami be'ezras nashim. Says Rashi, they would not read in the Azara, but rather in the Ezras Nashim. That did not have the sanctity as the rest of the Beis HaMikdash. It's only from the chayim from the wall and inward. Even the gate of Shar Niknor, where the Mitzar would put his thumbs through, Ezras Nashim Ezras Yisrael Lunis Kaddish. We know even the Shar Niknor was not Kaddish, and certainly not the Ezras Nashim. And that's where he read. Meisvei, in fact, the Gemara of the Heichin Karin Boy. So where did he read it? And this is referring to Hakel. Ba'azara. Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov Aimer Bahar Abayas. Shnamar, as we continue to Mem Aleph, Amud Aleph, Vayikra Boy Lefnei Harachai, Vashel Lefnei Shar Hamayim. Says Rashi, the Sefer Ezra Ksiv, which says Nehemiah on the side is Nehemiah, Katani Miel or Rabbanan Ba'azar Hayikarim. It says that it was read in the Azara. So Omer Rav Chisda be'ezras Nashim. It does not mean that Hakel was read there, but rather was actually read in the Ezras Nashim. Question 14. Elu Parshios min Torah Kohen Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippurim. So he would read Achri Mos. He would read Asar HaChodesh, which is right next to Parshas Achri Mos, which is Parshas Emor. And both of them were Mitoch HaKsav. However, Asar HaChodesh Hashvi, which is in Parshas Pinchas, that was done Baal Peh by heart. Ad Kan.